Hello, everyone, and welcome to our December desktop time. I can't believe it's already been a year. This is actually officially, I think, our 10th episode. We started in January of this year, and we took last month off so people could enjoy Thanksgiving with their families. And also we had good old QB Connect out here, so that kind of landed right in the middle of when we normally would have our desktop time. So we took a month off. But we're very pleased today to have with us Mischa Parris. And we also have Ed Pratt from ZenWork, who's going to be demoing Tax1099 for us. So we have a great wrap-up to a great year this year. And also later on, I'm going to be talking about who we already have locked in for next year. So really excited about next year. We thank all of you that have participated this year and joined us to listen in. We hope you found some good, valuable information in one of our webinars, or all of them, hopefully. And again, really the intent of desktop time is just to give a forum, as you probably all know, and some of you do actually work with hosted products or SaaS products, but we just want to have a forum where we can talk about desktop products, how cloud-based products actually integrate with desktop. And so if you see on our website, we jokingly say it's a safe place here. If you're on desktop, you're not crazy, you're not backwards. I'm in Silicon Valley and I'm still on desktop, so it's okay here. You can be a desktop person. We're all in this together. So anyways, again, we're very excited to have our guests that we have here today, and I'm actually going to just start off by reading their respective bios. And we're going to start off with Mischa, who's joining us again today. She actually was part of our Taste of QBox a couple of months ago as well. And Mischa is part of the Parris company, and she prides herself on the level of client support she delivers. Most known in the industry for her innate fix-the-mess ability that capably cleans up issues left from past accounting experiences. She holds a BA in management and an MS in leadership and organizational change from Regis College in Weston, Massachusetts. She's highly qualified with a background in payroll and internal operations. She's an authorized e-file provider with the IRS and has certifications as a QuickBooks Pro Advisor, T-Sheets Pro, and HubDoc Partner. Truly a well-versed professional ready to assist. And we also today, as I mentioned, we have Ed Pratt, who's here on behalf of ZenWork. Ed is the Chief Operating Officer of ZenWork Incorporated. He has 19 years of experience in compliance, outsourcing, and including human resources, payroll, and tax. In ZenWorks Incorporated creates cloud-based compliance solutions. Their award-winning Tax1099.com software integrates with accounting and bill payment software such as QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, I'm not supposed to be saying that, Xero, and Bill.com to streamline information return reporting for businesses. They also offer Excel import and manual entry to meet the needs of any business, small or large. Other ZenWork compliance tools include eFile Assist, Easy2290.com, FBARonline.com, and EasyExtension.com. So thank you both for being here today. Ed's actually going to check out and come back in. He mentioned at the outset, so he said he just wanted to make sure everybody saw his handsome face. So there he goes. And Mischa, we're going to start off with you, and you were going to share with us today some of your past experience doing 1099s, kind of the old school.
The old school way, yes.
Yeah, in comparison to the
I know I still cringe sometimes when I think about what I did. So before, I was literally just using Intuit online payroll for accountants, and they have a feature where you can, do bulk 1099s per, there's a fee per company, and the only thing with that was when it printed the 1099, it printed as a PDF on 3 separate pages. 2 copies and then the instruction. I would take the 3 pages in Adobe Acrobat and make it one document. So I would put one and then put the instructions, and I did that for a couple hundred people.
Okay.
That was my process. Then I would print them, stuff envelopes, and mail them.
Now, I have to mention what Sarah just posted. She said, they did that to sell you their forms.
Yeah, but I didn't buy the forms from them. I went to Staples online. Online. And because it was like, oh, I only need so many. So I got the pre-printed ones with the instructions on the back. They were already perforated. So I just printed, I was able to make it perfect. So I printed it and I just put it right in the envelope. So that's what I had been doing for years. That's my process.
Okay.
But at the time it made sense because it was, the pricing was okay. I was, pretty fast in Adobe. So I had a system. I would go click, 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 and I knew exactly where to hit, I would save it and I'm good. But then I was like, okay, I think I could do this a little bit better. So I'm starting to now look at, products like Tax1099 to ease my situation so that they could be emailed or they could mail them for me and I don't have to buy the paper and then print and then manipulate all that and do all of that stuff. But I have to laugh at myself for somebody who uses so much technology all the time.
So technology.
I know, but I was thinking, Adobe, I can manipulate that PDF, no problem. But then it started to become time consuming when I was doing a couple hundred at a time.
Okay. So based on your experience, what would you expect the average savings would be for a firm using that type of products? And in your case, you had a couple of hundred 1099s, let's say smaller, larger. What is that time-wise? Because even your methodology, you said you kind of had it down, and so
right. And I was able to do like maybe 100 of them in probably an hour. Mm-hmm. So that was literally just open up the PDF, editing it, drag and drop, making it, sizing it, and that, quickly, and I was good to go. So it was only taking me about an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And then the way I billed my clients a flat rate, which included my time, product, paper and mailing, and everything was wrapped into that tiered pricing. Mm-hmm. And then the cost to just e-file it through Intuit, accountants for payroll, for accountants, it worked out where I was actually making a profit.
Okay, but I can
now I don't know. I'd have to think about because I'm still looking for a product. I haven't mm-hmm. found anything that's feasible now where I'm not doing that many. Maybe it would make sense if there were something that was like, a couple dollars per 1099. Mm-hmm. So then it eliminates a lot. And then I still, I have to reprice and do all the repricing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think actually Sarah's helping us out here again. I have around 600 1099s and W-2s, so I use a product to help her as not perform. So she basically is talking about the efficiency of using another online product. But so I guess that's kind of today. The topic of today is, in talking to a lot of financial professionals that usually join us for desktop time. If we just kind of imagine the scaling, if you're a firm that has maybe specializing in working with contractors or someone that has a volume of 1099 people that they're paying, they would be able to look and quantify, specifically each account represents some X number of 1099s that's going to save them X amount of time and equate that to the amount of cost. And so that increased efficiency would also dovetail into any other efficiencies they're using for their tax return preparation mm-hmm. as well. Yeah. Ed, are you still with us?
I am here.
I think we'll go ahead and just jump into your demonstration if that's okay. We'll kind of do things a little bit differently. If we can jump into your demo of Tax 1099.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up my...
I'm going to be taking notes.
Well, let me know.
Because I really need this.
Well, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to bring up my desktop here so you can see the QuickBooks instance that I've got open here. And so just to kind of orient, because as people deal with QuickBooks, sometimes I'm sorry, I'm getting an unstable message. Hang on a second. Let me cut my video back off so I can get a better stable connection here. Sometimes people are maybe not aware or not familiar with the vendor record itself. So I just want to take a moment and look at what that is here in this test company file that I've got open. Basically, when we come in, I say we as Tax1099, we are looking for a couple of settings to be available. This vendor eligible for 1099 flag. Mischa was saying that she used to go through and produce these through QuickBooks. Same thing. They would be looking for that same flag. They'd be looking for the vendor tax ID. You've got all the name and address fields that are completed as well. So that's just kind of the base vendor record that you've got there. What we do is we work with Intuit. We work directly with Intuit, in fact, to perfect, or at least to make as perfect as possible, our system. We've built a plugin off of the software development kit that Intuit offers, and that plugin allows us to create a menu item here in your vendor menu. Once you install the plugin, you could simply upload your 1099 data from within QuickBooks. We've got here as well, we are their preferred provider, so they've embedded us within their 1099 wizard. If you're familiar with going through that year-end 1099 process, this wizard is very helpful. It helps you identify who the vendors are that you've got access to. It helps you identify the information, even the mapping. So if you have people who are being paid to box 1, box 7, box 14, whatever box that they're being paid for, you've got that. You can also include the thresholds, so you can make sure that you're mapping or matching the IRS thresholds. And we'll basically receive all of that information over to Tax1099. And we are now the e-file provider. So this go to 1099 e-file service clicks you over to our Tax1099 landing page that we have built with Intuit, and brings you over and lets you begin the experience with Tax1099. And once you do that, you basically just install the plugin, and then it's just a few clicks to go through the process. I am terrible at talking and typing at the same time, so give me just a moment. And you've got a couple of years that you can choose from here. I've got the 2017, the 2016, 2015. Honestly, for this test file, I'm not sure that I have anything for 2017. I'm going to click 2016 and process that over. Because of the lag that I've got here, just kind of working through this this virtual system, the Wi-Fi that I'm on, it might take a moment, but then it'll bring up everything. And so I've brought over my company file information. This is my corporate entity that I'm working with inside the company file in QuickBooks. I've got all of my recipients who met threshold requirements. I've got them mapped into the specific boxes, even to the point of if you had maybe you're a property management company and some of your vendors are receiving both rent payment and box 7 payments. We can bring both of those over. You'd see 2 lines for that person, and then merge them into one form for you on the next step. So, we've got a lot of capability there. Here, what we're doing is basically reviewing the data that you've sent over. You see, Larry has a red dot next to it. So we know that something's missing that we need there. So back in my company file, I'm missing the phone number for the payer. So the payer phone number is a required field. The IRS started requiring it a couple of years ago so that the vendors have a chance to contact someone with knowledge about that form. And so there's a requirement for putting that information in there. I could go back to QuickBooks. I could fill that in on my company profile in QuickBooks. I can make sure that that was there. For my case, I'm just going to enter in I think I did too many there. I'm just going to enter in a bunch of 9s for my email address or from my phone number, and we'll refresh. So this is a live system. We're dynamically looking at the data. You can make changes to anything that's on here. For example, I may have a typo with Ada. I don't know that she received $5.5 million last year. If I needed to fix that, I could just edit that information there. We don't send this back to QuickBooks, so important to note that that when you bring the information over from QuickBooks, we're accepting it as is. You can change it here in Tax1099, or again, you could go back to QuickBooks. You could update the data in your QuickBooks company file and then reinitiate that import process. Because to this point, I haven't imported anything. I'm really just bringing the data over, reviewing the data, and making any modifications that I might need to. I also have a check here, so I can check my total amount figure here, and you'll notice that it stops at the decimal because I've got all zeros here. But I could check my total amount back against my 1099 report in QuickBooks just to make sure that everything is kosher and matching up. I can see how many people I've got here. In the event that I had some data error on my vendor, that's usually where it happens. We're missing a zip code, or there's a 4-digit zip code, maybe a state dropped off of someone's address. I can see that here as well. I'd see a red dot next to their name, and I can go in and I can fix that particular person's information as well. So a fairly straightforward process. When everything is good, when I've got the good data coming over from QuickBooks, I've got someone working on that. My accountant Mischa is working on that, and she's got everything fixed up. She's doing this herself. Then when she brings this data over, it's going to be pretty clean because she's spent the entire year going through the books with that client. So I'll click next. I've got my 5 out of 5 records uploaded successfully, and I can see those here. I can also see a couple that I've done in the past. So we do offer the ability to come in and manually create a form. So for Lisa here, I manually created a form for her back in August. So I can do that if she's not in QuickBooks for whatever reason. I've got a lot of things that I can do here on this page as well. I can send this out via U.S. Postal Service mail, so there's no printing at all required there. We will take the data, we'll put it into an internally sealed envelope, a pressure sealed envelope that has an intelligent mail barcode on the outside of it, so you can kind of see it as it goes through the mail service. You won't get a delivery notification, but you can see that if your vendor's in Chicago, that the piece of mail arrived in Chicago as well, and so you can let them know that it is there, because vendors are always worried about that. They're always concerned that it didn't get there, and so we've developed that barcode system to help with that factor. If you don't want to use us for your mail service, totally fine. You have a copy of the of the 1099 as well. That the view copy here is available, and that would enable you to produce a PDF copy of that. So again, different than the process that Mischa described. This you just triple fold. You put into a double window number 10 envelope, and you're able to put a stamp on that noted as imported tax information. Just buy a little rubber stamp and put imported tax information on that envelope, and then you can send it out. Don't have to buy any special envelopes. Don't have to buy any special paper. Don't have to rush to Staples to get the triplicate forms with the copies that have to go out in a specific format, because we're handling all of that for you. The e-file, what we typically do for our current year forms, and if you remember, I did 2016 for this year, but for our current year forms, we schedule these out for a future e-file date. That gives you, as a business owner or as an accountant, some time to send those mailed forms out, to let your vendors see what is in that mailed form, and then to come back and say, oh, you know what, $5.56 million, that's not right. There's too many digits in there. We need to fix that. And then if that form is scheduled out, you can edit that form up to the scheduled date. We'll send whatever the most recent version is to the IRS, and you can simply print out or mail another copy to that recipient. So we've kind of bundled everything in together here for you in one place. If your vendor accepts an email, you'll see these are already defaulted to be turned on. I have email addresses for some of these folks, so I've got a capability of sending an email out. That's a password protected PDF document that goes to that recipient. It's a combination of their name and their tax identification number. The email that they get comes from us, support@tax1099.com, and gives them the instructions that they need in order to open up that document so that they can have access to that. A couple of extra things that we do, again, that you wouldn't find in an Intuit payroll product. We offer a 10-match service. So if I've never worked with this vendor before, and really what the IRS asks that payers do is first collect a W-9. If you're not collecting a W-9, you really need to start doing that. But second, they ask that you verify the TIN. The IRS offers a database that lets you validate the tax identification number and name combination. Oftentimes what we see is, I've got one down here called People Like Us. So they're using an EIN. They've got a name, People Like Us. They're probably, though, an LLC, a sole proprietor. Those are organized such that The EIN is really should be reflecting to the person's name. So just like this one is reflecting to Mike Jones, this one's reflecting to Lisa Holtzhauser. People like us should probably be reflecting to Frederick Smith or whomever is the owner of that business, as opposed to people like us. So what will happen down the line, and this is way down the line because IRS is really slow, but what will happen down the line is that my payer of Larry's Landscaping will get a CP 2100 notice, a B notice, that will eventually result in a penalty if not corrected. So we offer this 10-match service that lets you know within a couple of days if this is matching, if it's not matching. If it's not matching, then you can resolicit a W-9 from people like us. You can come back to them. Even in our service, we offer a W-9 tool online. So you can solicit that W-9 directly through our service, or you can print out the one that the IRS has, then just make sure that, that they have that. But that all goes back to that effective date, that scheduled date, because if I've given myself some extra time, I have up to January 31st for my Box 7 amounts. I have up to March 31st, and this year April 2nd for other box amounts on the 1099 miscellaneous form. If I've given myself that extra time, then I can make those modifications without having to submit a corrected form to the IRS. So that is a pretty good trick, just to try to do them as early as possible. Not always easy to do because you have to get your books closed, but try to do them as early as possible. Schedule the e-file date out to give yourself some additional time. The other thing that's on your estate filing, so we automatically take care of combined federal state filing. That is for about 30 states, and even some of the big ones, California, for example, accepts combined federal state filing. What that really means is that when we send information to the IRS in turn sends it down line to the state, and the state says, oh good, I've got this information, I can compare it to their state tax filing. There are some states that do not accept the state filing. Pennsylvania's one, Oregon's another, and there's a handful of others that require something special. So we identify those, and I don't have any here. You can see I get a little red circle with a line through it. But if I did have an Oregon, I'd see OR there. If I had a Pennsylvania, I'd see PA there. And so we can take care of that filing for you as well, just to get that off your plate. Again, you've got all the information here. You can print the PDF copy and send it into the state if they accept that as well. Or you could go on, for Oregon, you could go on to what they call their iWire system, and you could enter that information electronically yourself. But if you just kind of want to take care of it all in one fell swoop and not have to deal with it anymore, then we can manage all of those different processes for you. So that's pretty much the processing, the way that the processing goes. We started in QuickBooks. We brought the data over from my company file, and I wind up here in Tax1099, and I've got my my processing available. One more thing that I want to show you back in QuickBooks. I mentioned we had a couple of ways to get the information over. What I just showed you is the plugin. So it's the one that installs this vendor menu. We also, for clients who need it, we built a web connector as well. Update web services, there we go, couldn't find it. But we built a web connector, so just a separate pathway that Intuit offers. There are instances where the web connector might work better. For example, if you're behind a heavy firewall, it may not want you to install a plug-in type of operation. If you are on a server and your IT guy is not very friendly and you don't want to bug them about installing the plugin, you could use the web connector. It's downloadable just like the plugin from Tax1099. And it does the same process. You wind up going through the same steps in Tax1099 to produce those forms out, and then you have all the same options for those forms. Once in Tax1099, once you've done your filing, we store all of this for you. So you may have in the past, if you've been doing a paper process, you may have a file cabinet full of those forms for yourself or for your clients. But we'll store the information out here for you. You can come back, even going back 2 or 3 years, if your client or your business gets audited and you need to provide copies of those PDFs, they're all available here. So you can come back, even if one of the people loses their form, you can go in, you can print out that one-off form for that person, give it to them. Maybe they need to prove their income to the bank because they're buying a house. So you could certainly do that process. And trying to pull up the form here again. So I'm on the Wi-Fi and it's a little slow, but the form here is what you would see, and this again is what you can print. So just triple fold that, and you're able to print that and put it in that double window envelope. It's a little bit bigger on the PDF side here. But it's got everything on there that you would see on the standard forms that you get from a purchase that you do through Staples. I think Chris said Staples is a bad word, but you get the standard information that's required there. And as Mischa was saying, she had to kind of combine elements down to get the instructions and the forms all on one page. We've got the instructions right here for you too, so you don't have to kind of print anything else separate from all of that. So it's a kind of an all-in-one tool for doing your vendor compliance and making sure that you've got everything squared away with regards to those vendors. So Chris, that's pretty much how the software works. Do you want to take it back and see if there's some questions that might have come in?
And actually, you already answered one of them, and I was curious about myself was, and you covered that issue because I've actually heard that. I don't do taxes myself, but one of the challenges is when the LLC doesn't match, the actual filing name. So I think you covered that where you can actually check that box for an extra cost, and you'll pre-check to make sure that it's matching with that taxpayer's EIN or Social Security number, whatever is most appropriate for their filing status. One thing, you start off showing the pricing, and then is it possible we can pop that back up for just a moment?
Yeah, definitely. Let me bring that back up. And
actually, we have a question too from someone asking how you can edit an address or name, which I think I saw you do that. But and actually, that was another question. So if you don't use that service where you pre-check it, can they still edit the name themselves if they use the IRS number you mentioned to verify?
Yes, absolutely. So all that is possible. So on an individual, and this is going through the import process as I'm kind of going through that process,
okay.
And this is a stale one. I can edit that information. We store all of that information, your payer, your recipient information. So let's say Joe Smith here moves. I'm able to go in. I'm able to edit any of the information for Joe Smith. I can put in the address. I can change that. If he was filing under an SSN and now is filing under an EIN, all of that is available for me to change here. Now, just keep in mind, it doesn't go back to QuickBooks Desktop in this situation. So, yeah. So you want to make sure your systems are in sync. We do, and sorry, but cloud-based, right? A little bit easier for us to talk to them. But QBO, Bill.com, Xero, we do sync back to those softwares after collecting a W-9 or even just bringing the vendor data in here. But QuickBooks Desktop, we haven't solved that one just yet for sending that data back over. It is hopefully on the schedule for next year though, so that we can do that. But yeah, you can go and you can resolve those edit issues. The forms themselves, and let me take us back there for just a moment because I do have a scheduled form here. So for my my 2017 forms that are coming up into January that we'll need to work with, you can see here for Joe, I've got a form that's scheduled out for March the 2nd, 2018. So just something that you may be interested in doing as a user because of the 1099 Box 7 miscellaneous date being moved to January 31st last year. That doesn't mean you have to do them on January 31st. The IRS actually gives you a 30-day free card. It's called an 88. Let me try that again. It's called an 8809. It's an extension form that you can file. It gives you a free 30-day extension for your Box 7 filings. You can do it for the other boxes and get 30 days tacked on to the March 31st date. And what that does for you is buys you that additional time before you do the e-filing. So Joe comes back and says, hey, that's not $6,000, $1,000 of that was an expense reimbursement. And I say, oh yeah, that's right. We actually paid you $5,000 for your services. I update that amount and I click my save option, and our form data has been submitted successfully. So my PDF now will reflect the $5,000 for Joe, and just as important, the e-file that'll be going out to the IRS will reflect that as well. So my $5,000 here, I don't have to go buy an extra box of forms just because I need another 1096. I don't have to do any of those things. It's all right here and completed for me, so that I have accessibility to that modification if I need to do it.
Okay. One of the questions someone asked. Oops, what happened? Someone asked the question, yeah, so someone asked about pricing also, but they were asking about when you were showing how to edit the name field, they thought it looked like there was only one line. What's the volume of characters?
Yeah, there's more than one line. It depends on the type of recipient. So that was a business. So you know, we basically give you the option of entering it as an individual with a first, middle, last name. And in this case, it came over from the source as a just last name field. But you could do a first, middle, last name. If it's a business, then obviously there is no first, middle, last, and it's just a business name. If you have an additional name that needs to go in there, we created this attention to field. It will print on the mailed copies that go out. So it could be Joe's Carpet Cleaning, care of Joe, you know, and so forth for your address.
Okay, perfect. And then you were jumping over to pricing and I cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No problem. I don't mind being thrown off. So our pricing is it's on our page. So if you go to tax1099.com, there's a pricing menu right here. And these pages may change look in the next couple of days, just so don't be alarmed if that happens. But you know, we can calculate out what you're doing. So if you're doing, you know, 12 forms, we can tell you what that e-file price is going to be. If you want us to do the mailing of those forms as well, you know, we can tell you what the price of that is going to be. So, you know, we've got some calculators in here, but basically the way it works is that everybody starts filing here. We charge on a per form basis, and this is the e-file component. Once you go over 10, then you come to this tier. Once you go over 100, you go to this tier. And so we scale that across all of clients. So for example, Mischa probably has dozens of clients that she works with. So we're not going to charge her starting over every client. We're going to charge her based on the total volume that she does for that year. And then we've got a variety of other things that we do. I mentioned the non-combined federal state filing states, so we do an additional charge for that. We have different pricing for kind of after-the-fact payroll type filings because it uses a different system with IRS. We have some other forms, 1042S and so forth for foreign vendors, and then our W-9 pricing. And then the question we get a lot is the mail price. That's $1.50 per form there as well. The 10 max is $1 per request, but you can get a break on that if you buy into one of our subscriptions.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, sorry. Just one more thing, Chris, before I stop. If you have questions, you know, you can always get in touch with us. This little box down here. You just click here, start a new conversation, and you know, if you had questions about how it works or pricing or anything else, especially if you're maybe a large accounting firm, a large business, we do offer some volume discounts, and so you could certainly contact us and talk about it there or at our phone number at the top of the page.
Okay, perfect. And just as a reminder, we already have the link on our webpage, but post-webinar today, we'll have all the information for Tax 1099 on so if you forget, it's going to be on the Desktop Time website, and we'll also send everyone a follow-up email, which will have that link in it as well. So in case you forget and you want to go back and view this pricing page, which is right on the home page of the website, you can access that also from Desktop Time. Okay. Is that it, Ed? So thank you very much. I appreciate you showing that. I can obviously see. I'm not a tax guy, but I can see the efficiency that that's going to create. And just so one thing I want to circle back on. So you said at this moment you have interaction with cloud-based applications or SaaS like Xero or QuickBooks Online. If they do an update in Tax 1099, it'll actually update back to those systems. But desktop at this moment, it doesn't update back to desktop. So they need to update desktop also if they get a revised W-9 or they get new address information. Is that right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. We do have.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We do have extractable information. I'm going to stop my video because I'm getting some choppiness. But okay. We do have some extractable information to Excel, so you can push the data out to Excel, put it into QuickBooks. You can also just type it back into QuickBooks if you wanted to, you know, to make the modification that way. But QuickBooks Desktop, we're definitely exploring. Like I said, we have a partnership with Intuit, as you could see from us being embedded in their 1099 wizard, and so we're working on getting that back to QuickBooks Desktop, and again, hopefully to being able to do that next year, because that is important. I saw one of the chat comments was talking about how hard it is to get that W-9 information. And so we're trying to solve for that problem and make it easier for us to collect that W-9 information on your behalf. You create a vendor in QuickBooks, you check the 1099 eligible box, and that kicks off a process for us where we just take over ownership of sending out the W-9, collecting that information, uploading it into Tax1099, and syncing it back to QuickBooks. So we're working through that process now, and again, hopefully for next year we'll have that up to date with QuickBooks Desktop.
Okay, perfect.
I have a quick question. So how does it work when you're working in QBox with multiple clients, and these clients need 1099s? If you're sending it right from desktop.
Mm-hmm. So I have to say I'm not familiar enough with QBox to probably answer that question. But as long as you can get it into the desktop environment, then that's where we can pull that data from. So
perfect example. I have my own internal file, and I have to do 1099s for me, for my company. So I'm using Tax1099 integrated within my QuickBooks Desktop, and I do my thing and I send it over. It's pulling my desktop file, but on any given day I log into my client's QuickBooks file via QBox, and I need to do their 1099s, and I'm linking it to Tax1099. How does that work?
That might be where the web connector comes in as a better option.
Okay, gotcha.
Just as another example, a hosted service might be a similar situation. The web connector generally works better than the plugin, just because of security, right? QBox has a great security system, and they make sure that things are locked up tight there so that no one can access it. The web connector helps do that in a more virtual manner than the plugin.
Well, and just so you know, and thank you for the plug for QBox. Thank you.
Yeah.
But with QBox, all we're doing is giving everybody a match copy of the QuickBooks Desktop file. So at the end of the day, we integrate with everything. So it's just a matter of which location they want to run their 1099s from and integrate to Tax1099. But everybody's got a full QBW, so they can use the plugin, they can use the web connector from any one of those locations, any of the copies. You can do it right from your own copy, Mischa, if that was
but I'm more concerned, like how are you, because you're managing multiple companies. I have multiple clients who are using desktop, and I need to push that out. Do I create one account with Tax1099, 1099?
Yes.
And then I send everything that I want over there.
Mm-hmm.
How is the integration part that allows me to know that this is my company versus my client's company versus another client's company when I send that data over. That's what I'm trying to make sure I kind of understand.
Well, that's a good question, because that would be a general question for any accountant or bookkeeper, where they're obviously going to provide that 1099 service in support of a number of clients. So, and I see you're showing the drop-down menu for the different client names.
Yeah, absolutely, and exactly what Mischa said. So we built it with that in mind. So this is Mischa's company, but this is one of her clients. So they're all here. When the information comes over to us from the QuickBooks company file, we're creating this payer record based off of that QuickBooks company file.
Got it.
That's why you do them one at a time instead of, some days I think it'd be great if you could do, 40 clients at one time, just push them all from QuickBooks Desktop at one time, but it doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
You go into the one and you push the one, and that's how we differentiate it. So we know that this is EIN 123456789, and this is EIN 987654321. So we regard that as a separate entity, and we stack them completely separately for you here.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right.
Okay, I think we covered all the questions that we had for you, Ed. But I can see definitely how the efficiency would be phenomenal for even for us as an end user for our 1099 relationships. But thank you very much again for giving us a thorough demonstration and an overview of the pricing. And again, if anyone's interested in more information, as Ed mentioned, you can go to the homepage of the website and use those features to ask questions or call the number at the top of the website. And again, we'll also have the link on Desktop Time so you can access that from there if you so choose. As Ed mentioned, he's actually joining us. He's at a conference, so we really appreciate him.
Oh, that's why.
The internet's not the best because he's relying on someone else's Wi-Fi. So thank you very much again. So a couple other kind of housekeeping things I wanted to mention before we wrap up early today. And actually, I was boasting earlier that we have some new swag. So you've been seeing Allison's questions that you can get some new swag. So a lot of you have probably already seen our Desktop Time shirt that we have, powered by QBox. As of QB Connect this year, we also are going to be sending folks that inquire about swag our new QBox shirt, which is very fashionable.
Woo.
New rave. Everybody needs to have one of these. If you don't have a QBox shirt, you're nobody.
I'm looking for a space, maybe right
and
here.
I
think I need to put that shirt on this side right there.
Yeah, that's right. You got a spot for it, and we also have our good old conference bags, which are
the bag is gorgeous. Just so you know, the bag is gorgeous.
So we're gonna do something creative for this year because we're all signed up for scaling this year. We're looking forward to Atlanta, and we'll be at QB Connect this year, and other places we'll let you know about as we go along. But again, we appreciate everyone joining us. And Kylie's wearing hers today. Thank you very much. But actually, I got those pictures. I'm not good at getting my Facebook messages, but I found some pictures. But anyways, we want to thank you again for making 2017 a very successful year for us here at Desktop Time. Also wanted to mention that already we're getting a great response for next year. We have a few returning vendors. So we have HubDoc and T-Sheets are going to be back next year. That information's on the website, but we also have Alterity is going to be joining us, QVinci, Expensify, and some others that we're working on getting finalized in the next week or so. In January, which is our next Desktop Time scheduled for January 17th, we actually have a good friend, Jeff Edmonds, who's going to be here on behalf of Woodard. So he's going to be telling us more about taming the machine for scaling new heights this year, and he's also going to be talking about a lot of the new Woodard resources they have available to all of you financial professionals. And as part of that same Desktop Time, we'll also have Activate, or Alterity representing Activate. So actually it was interesting at QB Connect. I think I had more questions about Desktop Time at QB Connect than I did about QBox, but one of the questions was, gee, aren't you going to do any inventory resources at all? And so I said, hey, great news, in January, Activate's going to talk about inventory online that integrates with desktop. So that'll be our January Desktop Time, so we'll have that for you. But again, we have most of our schedule up for next year. We also, in September, we're excited to have Hector Garcia be with us. He, of course, is the MC for the Power Hour along with Michelle Long. But he's going to be introducing the desktop for 2019. So here I can barely get my mind around, it's almost 2018. He's going to be introducing the 2019 desktop and giving us all the nuances and things to consider for that new desktop version. And then next year, also in October, we'll have our Taste of QBox once again. Can't guarantee TS will be back, but it's going to be good. I promise you that. So you won't want to miss that one. We'll have a good panel of people, including some that I had to promise at QB Connect they'd be with us next year. But anyway, so we do want to thank you again for your participation. We thank you for being an active part of Desktop Time. Hope all of you have a very wonderful Christmas season with your family and friends, and just a joyous end of the year and a good kickoff to 2018. And wish you all the very best in all of your endeavors. And thank you again to Ed and to Mischa for joining us today. And we appreciate that. We again will send their information in our follow-up email, both actually for Mischa also. So we thank you for joining us today. And again, I'm going to go ahead and say Happy New Year to everyone because I won't see you.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy Merry Christmas. Happy everything. So
yes.
Thank you very much again to everyone. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day as well. Thanks again, and we'll see you in January. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.